It is time to once again continue on with our 2025-26 season previews. Today we have the New York Rangers in this video. The Rangers are certainly going to be a team that I think is going to bounce back from last year. I feel like last year was just a rough year. It was just an overall everything could have gone wrong, went wrong type of season. I don't think they'll be as good as they've been in previous years, but I still think they make it back to the playoffs. So let me explain. The season previews are underway here on the YouTube channel. We have now done every single team from the Anaheim Ducks to the New York Islanders alphabetically. We are about 3/4 through this series, so be sure to check out all the other videos in this season playlist, which will be in the card up here. But regardless, let's go on now to the New York Rangers, who the last 3 seasons have been very consistent, but this past year was a very inconsistent year and a little bit of an outlier from the last couple of years. But let's hop right into 2022-23, where the Rangers went 47, 22, and 13 for 107 points. They were 9th in the NHL, and they obviously made the playoffs that year. They did lose in round 1 to the New Jersey Devils. It just felt like another year where they weren't able to perform in the Stanley Cup playoffs, which is unfortunate, but, you know, again, like, some teams, they struggle with it, and the Rangers just struggled in that year, to be honest with you. In 23-24, they would get much better, a lot better at that. They went 55, 23, and 4 for 114 points. They were first in the NHL in 23-24. They did go on to the Eastern Conference Finals. You can tell that I am not very awake right now, and they obviously lost to the Florida Panthers in that series. I was really disappointed with how the Rangers offense and how these guys showed up, so definitely I was not very happy with that. And yeah, overall they did get to the conference finals, but it just felt like the same result to yet again another disappointing year. But in 2024-25, this team would take a dramatic step back, and by dramatic, yeah, I mean dramatic. They went 39, 36, and 7 for 85 points. They were 22nd in the league. It was just such a horrible year. So many changes to this roster. It felt like all of the guys who were negative assets and liabilities were like traded away. It felt like half of the players who have been Rangers for so long and were respected by the fans and loved by the fans were traded away. So it was really honestly kind of heartbreaking to see this team be torn apart, but I'm sure there are a majority of Rangers fans that are very happy with the strides this team has made in previous years, so we'll see what happens. But the Rangers, they went through a lot of change this past year. Taking a look at the management to start off here with the Rangers, you have Chris Drury as your general manager. He has been the GM since 2021-22. Overall, I think that Drury has done a solid job at putting together this Rangers team and getting rid of the guys who were just liabilities with it. And now, I must say that the ways that he handled some of these situations aren't the prettiest, but I do think overall he has done a good job and did a good job this offseason at improving the roster. And then you have Mike Sullivan, who was recently hired as the team's brand new head coach. This is a massive factor here for the Rangers. I honestly think with the add of Mike Sullivan, who is one of the more touted coaches in not just the NHL, but in hockey in general. He was the coach with Sidney Crosby, got them to the Stanley Cup Finals multiple times throughout his career. Obviously, then he would win those cups with them. He's just a very experienced coach, and I think that it's going to pick up here with the Rangers, and I low-key think, like, with the acquisition of him alone, they're a playoff team. But regardless, I think that Sullivan is a good add, and I overall have trust in this New York Rangers management. Your key arrivals for the New York Rangers. You start off with Taylor Radish, Vladislav Gavrikov, Scott Morrow, and Derek Pouliot are the team's newest players to this roster. So Taylor Radish will be a good, I would say probably 4th or 3rd liner, depending on how you look at this roster. I think he's probably going to be placing around the 3rd or 4th line. Overall, good bottom sixer, not a bad guy to have on your roster whatsoever. Gavrikov should be a fun one. This guy's got that good dynamic defensive defensive play. And I think that for the Rangers, who have struggled with giving Adam Fox a legitimate defensive partner, I think that getting a guy like Gavrikov is going to do numbers for this Rangers team. So I just wanted to discuss that. You also have guys like Scott Morrow, who was a younger player acquired in the K'Andre Miller trade. I think that is a very good move and a very good deal for the Rangers as well. And I overall think for a young guy like him, who is one of the more underrated prospects in the league, is going to make an impact for sure. And I feel like he could get in there over a guy like maybe Braden Schneider or Will Borgen and start playing legitimate minutes right away. So we'll see what happens there with the New York Rangers and Morrow, but I like that move a lot. And then Derek Pouliot, more or less just a depth defenseman, to be honest with you. Then you move on to the key departures for the Rangers. You have Chris Kreider, K'Andre Miller, Zach Jones, and Arthur Kaliev are the guys who are no longer on the Rangers team. I did not realize this until after I made my notes and my graphics up, but Louis Domingue is no longer a Ranger either. He is in the KHL, as some of the outlets have lied to me. But regardless, yeah, best of wishes to Louis Domingue. He did not make the list. He should be on that list, though. Chris Kreider was a long-time Ranger, and this is what I've been talking about with Chris Drury. He is a guy who doesn't really care about the sentimental value to some of these players with the fans and such. Like, he doesn't care. If a move will benefit the team, or it will improve the team, or it gets rid of a problem, he'll make it. It doesn't really matter what he thinks. He'll get it done by any means possible. So again, I do want to say that, like, I'm not saying that, like, oh, he hates his players and such, but he will get a move done no matter what if he thinks it improves the team. K'Andre Miller, definitely a guy as well who was a love and hate relationship, a lot of hate. Most recently with the New York Rangers. He is no longer there. He's off to Carolina. Zach Jones just didn't get the playing time that he wanted with the Rangers. I remember even hearing, like, when the Rangers were making so many new moves to their blue line and they brought in Zach Jones was, like, you know, brought in for interviews and stuff. He basically said, he's like, yeah, I don't know why this team's not playing me. There was somebody else. Calvin DeHaan was another guy too who really spoke about his concerns with the Rangers and his playing time. And then Kaliev there as well was a depth player. So honestly, really nothing much else to say there about him. We'll have to see what happens there. But those are your arrivals and departures for the New York Rangers. Looking at the Hockey News' depth chart for the Rangers. And this is the Hockey News'. It is not my own, so that way I don't forget anybody or do anything stupid. So starting off here on your left wing side, you have Artemi Panarin, Will Cuylle, you have Brett Berard, Brennan Othmann routing out your first four. Then you have Adam Edstrom as your extra forward there for the Rangers on the left wing side. Panarin is coming into a contract year. We'll see how much money he gets paid on his next contract. I can tell you for certain it won't be an 8-year contract. It definitely will not be. Probably maybe a 4, maybe 5-year deal because he is getting up there in age at this point. But overall, Panarin with the Rangers, I can't believe it's been almost 8 years already. It's pretty wild to even think. But overall, yeah, Panarin will definitely get a lot of chatter if the Rangers are not good around the trade deadline. Will Cuylle as well, one of those younger players. I thought he was one of the few youth guys who made a very big impact last year. I was a big fan of him. Berard, we covered his first NHL goal on the Watch of Nordic Streams. He is one of 2 players to see his first NHL goal there. But regardless, Berard is going to be a decent third liner. Othmann, kind of the same thing, has struggled to really bring that to the NHL, although he hasn't really gotten a lot of NHL time to begin with, so you can obviously monitor that as well. But overall, you got a decent left wing side there. Edstrom is your extra guy too, and he did play games last year as well. On your center core, you have JT Miller, Mika Zibanejad, Vincent Trocheck, and then Sam Carrick as your fourth line center. Then you have Juuso Parssinen as your extra forward there. So the center depth is pretty good. I would say a 1-2-3 of Miller, Zibanejad, and Trocheck on paper looks solid. So Miller, I think, will be Miller. Miller has been very consistent offensive scoring player. I know he had those things with Elias Pettersson, and as a fan of the Rangers, you definitely would want to look at that for sure. But obviously, I think Miller is still a dynamic offensive forward. Zibanejad has had his struggles with New York. I imagine those struggles are going to be there at some point, because they always are. But regardless, yeah, Zibanejad's there at the 2C slot. Trocheck, I got no problem with. I feel like he should be in there over Zibanejad, but it's a pretty damn good 1-2-3 punch, regardless of the order you put it in. And then Carrick will be a decent fourth liner, and then Parssinen, maybe he can work things out here with New York. He hasn't really been able to do so in any other place he has played. On your right wing side, you have Alexis Lafreniere, Gabriel Perrault, Yoni Brodzinski. Then you have Matt Rempe as your fourth line forward, and then you have Taylor Radish as your extra guy there, rounding out your five. So Lafreniere is an interesting one, and Perrault. We're going to put them in the same thing here. Mike Sullivan is a little bit known for developing players. He has done a good job at this, and I feel like you could honestly throw a lot of other players into this as well, like Cooley, Berard, and Othman, and many others. But one thing that Mike Sullivan has done a very good job at is developing players, getting them fully developed, getting them back into, like the player that they were projected to be. He did this with Jake Gensel. He did this with a few other players on the roster as well. He was starting to do so before he was released from the Penguins. So what the big optimism with me there is, I'm hoping that with something that the Rangers have had a massive problem with over the last, I would say, 5 or 6 years, maybe even longer than that, is developing players. They've had an issue at developing their youth, and I feel like that's been their biggest factor. Like, if all these guys developed, this team would be a lot different. A lot different. Kaapo Kakko would still be here probably. This team would just be a lot more developed and probably be a lot better, to be completely honest with you. But the way that the Rangers have run their system and their young players, it's really prevented some of them from breaking out or playing legitimately well, or even getting ice time for that matter. So I wonder with a guy like Mike Sullivan coming in, maybe he can make Lafreniere better. He can make Perrault better as some of the new young guys coming in. I know Lafreniere has been there for a while, but talking about Perrault and Cooley and Berard and Othman, maybe you can make those guys work. And I hope they do, because these are a lot of younger players who could be playing a lot of time this year. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, Brodzinski, not a bad player there. Good third liner. Matt Rempe will be not there. Taylor Radish will be there as the fourth guy, but this is the Hockey News' depth chart. I digress. Rempe fights. I mean, they win when he's in the lineup. It's weird. He doesn't really do anything, but they win when he's there. And then obviously too, I think Radish will be there over him, but a very good fourth line player at that. That's your forward core. Overall, looking pretty good. Now you go and take a look at your defensive core for the Rangers. You start off on your left shot side. You have Vladislav Gavrikov, Carson Soucy, Urho Vakakainen, and Derek Pouliot are your four guys on the left shot side. So Gavrikov, again, as I mentioned in the key arrivals segment of this video, he is finally going to be that partner for Fox that you can trust. In previous years, you've had your lack of trust with guys like K'Andre Miller, a few other players who have played with Fox on that left shot side. So I have a lot of confidence in Gavrikov. I think in terms of the guys who Fox has been playing with, Gavrikov is by far the best he's going to have, at least so far in his career. So I'm looking forward to that. Carson Soucy will be a good second pairing defenseman. He was acquired at the trade deadline. Vakakainen, acquired in the Trouba trade, was very solid as well. And then Pouliot will be a decent depth center there. Your right shot side, Adam Fox, Will Borgen, Braden Schneider rounding out your first three. Then you have Scott Morrow and Casey Fitzgerald as your extra defenseman there as well. So Fox is Fox. Again, I just mentioned the fact that I feel like him having a partner like Gavrikov is really going to benefit him. I feel like this man is so overhated by everybody in the NHL. It's genuinely sad to see. But overall, he's still a very solid and very good defenseman regardless. Borgen won't be a bad second pairing guy there. Same with Schneider on your third pairing. And then you have Morrow, again, who I spoke very highly of earlier. And then Fitzgerald, who I forgot was still in the league, to be honest with you. Here's the weird thing, and this is something I want to bring up with the Rangers before I move on. The weird thing with their defensive core is that it is like almost completely different from what it was at the beginning of last season. For example, guys like Carson Soucy, Urho Vakakainen weren't there. Will Borgen wasn't there. This is a blue line that had guys like Trouba. You had K'Andre Miller there. Man, things really changed with this blue line from last year. It has changed so much. And you could argue it's for the better. And honestly, I don't know if I would disagree with you. And then you move on to the goalies with the Rangers. You have Igor Shesterkin, Jonathan Quick, and Dylan Garand are your 3 goalies here. Shout out Louis Domingue. I nearly put him in the video, but I wanted to fact check something, and I realized he wasn't with the Rangers. Shesterkin is Shesterkin. Again, when this guy is at his peak, I think he is a top 2 goaltender in the NHL. I still think he is, honestly, like when we look at overall in terms of right now. But honestly, I think that he has taken a little bit of a fall in my rankings because of the fact that he's just had a rough year with the Rangers. And I don't feel like it was really even his fault either that the Rangers were bad last year. I think it was just combined not good defense and just a rough year. It was obviously a contract year too. Now that is out of the way, he's getting paid that $12.5. We'll see how it goes. Quick is on the downswing. I definitely saw, like, last year, I was like, yeah, Quick's age is getting to him. I do wonder if, like, this could be his last year. Maybe it's his second to last because we haven't really heard anything about it. But regardless, it would not shock me if this is Jonathan Quick's farewell tour. And then Dylan Garand there as well. Has been with the Rangers for a while, and we've talked about him in the prospect pool reviews multiple times. He's a pretty solid goalie who just hasn't gotten a shot to be called up. I think with the way the depth chart's looking at now, he probably will get a chance. Now it's time to discuss the biggest questions with the Rangers here. So I got one, and it is, will the offense and the power play improve? Because in so many games this year, we didn't do a lot of Watch of Nordic streams with the Rangers, but in the ones we did, they really struggled to score. Like, scoring was their biggest problem. So what I'm looking at here is, are they going to be able, with guys like Miller and Panarin and the youth that's coming in, will they be able to improve the scoring? More importantly, the power play. This is a team that has a pretty solid power play on paper, but they can't make anything go on the ice. I wonder if that's going to happen this year. I feel like with a full year of Miller and a lot of the problems out of the way, I think they should improve, honestly. I think they will. And a guy like Gavrikov, who can be like your power play player, I think they're going to do good. So overall, I think the offense will improve, and I think the power play will also improve as well. It's just a matter of how much. Like, is it going to improve by like 10% or 30%? Like, you don't really know. But I think that with these guys they have, and the players who are sticking around and the new guys they have coming in, I think it will improve. So then it's time for my final question here. Playoffs, standings, cup. Those are the things that we're asking ourselves here about the New York Rangers heading into this season. So I will say playoffs. Yes, I think they bounce back and make the playoffs this year. Standings-wise, I have them, and I really, really fought hard with myself about this, but I just can't, for the sake of me, put them higher without getting a lot of hate on social media. I have them 4th in the Metropolitan Division. Now, I am not ruling out whatsoever that they go out and they get like 2nd or 3rd. I am not ruling that out there whatsoever. I believe this team can absolutely do that. But I don't know if I want to jump from what was last year to that right away. But it wouldn't shock me, honestly, with the way Mike Sullivan is, with the way this team can play. It would not shock me at the slightest. And then again, Stanley Cup is not impossible. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below on the New York Rangers. Thank you all very much for watching. If you enjoyed, be sure to like the video down below and subscribe if you are new. We got the Ottawa Senators coming up tomorrow. That should be a fun video. I always enjoy talking about Ottawa. But regardless, that'll do it for me. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.